HR tech, work tech, and investment are transforming the future of work. Are you in the know? Welcome to the Work Tech Podcast. Join host George LaRocque for expert insights on the trends, M&A activity, and strategies shaping the workplace. Brought to you by oneworktech.com and the Work Defined Network.
Okay, hey, welcome back to Work Tech, everyone. I'm excited for today's conversation. We had some big industry news, and once again, Bullhorn was at the center of it. Bullhorn recently announced its acquisition of Kona. And, since the announcement, there's always a lot of chatter in the industry, and folks especially looking at the staffing and recruiting space about what it all means. And as usual, I thought, let's go to the source. So today we're joined by Matt Fisher, Bullhorn's president and COO, and Andrew McKay, the co-founder and CEO of Kona, to give us some perspective on this. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you, George.
Well, first, hey, congrats on the deal. Really big news. I can't imagine that anyone isn't familiar with Bullhorn and everything, but just in case, let's start with introductions. If you could each introduce yourselves, and then we'll dig in.
Sure. Matt Fisher. I'm the president and COO of Bullhorn. I just hit 20 years this year in May, which is crazy. George and I were just reminiscing. It's been a fun ride. This acquisition is one of many that help us execute against our long-term vision, and looking forward to talking about it.
Awesome.
And I'm Andrew McKay, and as you said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kona Search. Actual full name of the company, because otherwise we'll be contending with an island in Hawaii, and various coffee makers. So I'm excited about this as well, and I'm excited about the conversation we're about to have.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, great. And it is a beautiful island, by the way. And congrats, Matt, on 20 years. That's I knew you back when. For those who aren't aware, I was at Bullhorn for a hot minute, a few years, probably right as you were starting or right after you started. I would guess. I think, yeah. Sorry. So enough about me. Let's talk about this deal. So I love a great backstory, like origin stories. So Matt, let's start with you. What was going on in the world, in the market, that led you to this acquisition?
Yeah, totally. So take a step back and talk about it from a couple of different angles. The first is what we've been doing on Salesforce. We are one of the largest ISVs in the world on Salesforce, not just in staffing and recruiting, but overall, and the largest in staffing and recruiting by an order of magnitude. And we've just loved that partnership, and we've been able to make so many customers successful, on that platform. And that platform continues to advance and continues to be something that we're really excited about providing solutions on top of. At the same time, we're executing against an AI vision and a search and match vision where we're really sort of reimagining recruitment and reimagining the entire workflow and thinking about how can we infuse AI across the entire thing from end to end, everything from assistance all the way through to, full agentic AI. And to be successful at doing that, you've got to be the best in the market at search and match. And so prior to the acquisition of Kona, we also acquired TextKernel, as I think as folks know, as sort of an anchor into sort of, having the best search and match models and technology in the market. But there was a gap, and that gap is the ability to search Salesforce entire data model, the entire solution. And that's where Kona came into play, and fits really nicely into this whole vision of, us continuing to provide technology on Salesforce, building AI that's infused throughout the entire platform, sort of having the best and most accurate search models, in the industry, and then being able to do all of that on top of Salesforce. And Kona's tech is, and I'm sure Andrew will talk about it, is amazing. And it gives us a huge accelerator into closing that gap on Salesforce.
Great. So Andrew, that's a great segue to talk about Kona Search and where you've, pre-acquisition, where you fit in the Salesforce ecosystem, and sort of what led you to this deal, and how recruiting or staffing fits within Kona Search's go-to-market.
Sure, and thanks, Matt, for that for that plug for us. Kona Search. We started Kona Search as a general search and match app for the Salesforce community. So we were in the enterprise search space at the time. I've been in the space since 2001. And we created Kona simply because as a Salesforce customer, we wanted better search and match. And since we were in the enterprise search market at the time, we thought we could do a better job of it. We actually had a similar trajectory as TK, as TextKernel. We were acquired by a company called Basis Technology and then later spun out. So interestingly, the one requirement Basis had was to open a Tokyo office and start selling in Japan, which was an odd request for at the time, basically 5 guys in a garage. But we did it and proved to be a smart move because our Japanese business has been successful and growing. But in any event, we have customers all around the world, but we're a small company. It was really the last 18 months that we started to take off when we carved ourselves out of Basis Technology. And at the time, we had decided to go for a financing round because we were growing so quickly. We needed to hire in order to keep up with the growth rate. And it was at that time that Bullhorn reached out to us. But we had always created this product to service the entire Salesforce community. So to be honest with you, we had a mantra that was build horizontal, sell vertical. And we were in a number of marketing sectors, higher ed, manufacturing, fintech, the usual markets Salesforce is in. But the one that just happened to grow larger and larger for us was staffing and recruiting and executive search. And this was great because it was obvious where the match was here. And I think there were 3 things that really made us kind of a darling in the industry. One was that we did cross-entity search across every object in Salesforce, along with deep search of documents. We had a very Salesforce native UX, which meant that we weren't just looking like Salesforce, but we actually integrated back and forth with the flows that people create in their environments. And we were easy to use. So you could get us up and running in a day from the initial installation all the way to a tailored search page running on your data. And that was probably the strongest selling component in our selling experience with our clients. So with that in mind, it was kind of a natural move. I asked the first person who contacted me actually at Bullhorn, I'm just curious why you're reaching out to us. And he said, it was interesting. Your competitors always reached out to our customers. They built their businesses in our market. You guys didn't. Our customers reached out to you, and we find that very interesting. And I thought that was a very insightful comment. So that started the relationship. Footnote, why did we call ourselves Kona? There were 2 of us who started the company, and we thought that we were the only 2 people left in the United States of America who had never actually been to Hawaii. And I still haven't. I've been to Angkor Wat in Cambodia. I've been all over this crazy planet. I've just never been to Hawaii. You got to get over there someday. So anyway, that's the story.
Have you been now? Did you make it over? Oh, still no. Okay.
No,
all right.
No, but we sell coffee. We give away coffee at conferences because we couldn't afford iPads and stuff like that. Because we found a farmer in Kona that creates organic coffee, wins lots of awards, but doesn't really sell retail. Mukulele Farms, they're called. And I just approached them at a show in California and said, I want to buy 100 pounds of your coffee and give it away at shows. So that's what I did.
Nice. So that's really interesting. I mean, being in the flow of work with an interface that makes it easy to do the work, but really that being able to search across the entities, you're really discovering nuggets on every client, every candidate that might be cumbersome if ever found by other means. So I can see the value there. So as this comes together, what should Bullhorn's customers be most excited about? What does this do for a Bullhorn customer, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this concept is the thing that's most exciting for customers that are on Salesforce, which is, we've had this on the Bullhorn native platform for a while, but this has always been a gap on Salesforce, and Salesforce's data model is as broad as you can make it, right? It's very configurable. It's very difficult to build something that's sort of like kind of purpose built, right? Because the power of the platform is that it is very configurable, and you really can define objects as you wish. And so therefore searching it is technically complex, which is, what's really exciting about Kona Stack is they figured out a way to do that and to scale that. And to your point about the nuggets, like that's really it. Like search and match isn't just about find me the right profile or rank somebody based on, the terms that they have in their resume. It's really about thinking about the whole person and also thinking about, oh, that's a rough time for my doorbell to go off.
No worries.
I should have muted that.
It's the world we're in.
I know, right? It's probably my landscaper outside. So anyway, it's all of the data points that actually, allow you to figure out who is the most likely to be placed and successful at a job. Some of them are in a resume. A lot of that is sat in unstructured data, in notes, maybe in a call log of a conversation you've had with somebody. It could also be, my favorite example is the outcomes, which is who's been placed. Did they fall off an assignment before? What are all the signals about how they move through the funnel? All of that stuff, if you don't have access to the entire data model, is impossible to include in a match. And so this is what everybody should be excited about on Salesforce now, which is we can take the entire data model and we can use that to train the machine learning models we have to predict the person that's most likely to be successful based on more than just their resume. And it really allows us to do that with a lot of power and a lot of success on Salesforce. There's also the exec search thing that I think is worth calling out that Andrew mentioned too, which is that's sort of its own workflow. That's very unique in and of itself. And Kona has done an amazing job marrying the search requirements, the search tech with the exec search requirements. And there's not a lot of providers in the industry that can do that as well as Kona either. And so you kind of get this, this great product for exec search, and you get all this access to data that sits in all these other objects in Salesforce to train our models to provide more accurate matches.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I want to build on it just a little bit here. Go ahead, George.
No, please continue.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so you really hit the nail on the head there, Matt. The executive search side is a great trial by fire because finding a CFO for a particular industry is a little bit different than, hiring a QA engineer. I mean, talents are equal, perhaps, but the particulars are very complex. Geo search is less important, for example, because the person will just fly to wherever the job is. So the reality is that we understood that there is largely a democratization of data. Everybody has everybody's resume all the time.
Totally.
So what differentiates you as a recruiting company, as a staffing company? Well, what differentiates you when it comes to the information is all the other information that you have that isn't publicly available. Your interviews, your history, your back and forth messages, emails, everything else. All of that is unstructured data. And one of the theses that I had in putting Kona together from a technical standpoint was to prove that there is a way to search structured and unstructured data together without disrespecting the relationship in a database and without disrespecting the nuances of text, natural language processing in documents. And I thought Salesforce was a great trial by fire because it's a traditional relational database model, unfortunately predominantly populated with text. So we thought, that's great. So let's do it here. And we were a Salesforce customer at the time. But this is the essence of, I think, the challenge we see in the staffing industry and the recruiting industry today is that, how many more ways can you parse a resume? How many more ways can you parse a job order? Well, maybe those aren't the two things that you should be looking at and nothing else. You should be looking at the entire landscape of what constitutes a candidate and what constitutes a job.
Yeah, totally. And it should be outcome oriented too, which is, I was saying that before, which is why this is so important, because otherwise you're just comparing resumes. but what are you actually trying to achieve? You're trying to find the person who's going to be most successful for the particular role that you're trying to fill. And to do that, you have to understand who's been successfully placed previously at roles like that, so that you can find all of the correlations on, to make those predictions for other resumes. And so, that's been a little bit tricky on Salesforce, both for text kernel, and for Bullhorn. And that's really, I think this is the third leg of the stool, which is like, okay, now that you have got access to all of this data and you can start plumbing it into the models, plus you got, a cool search interface too, but you're just going to get better matching as a result.
Yeah. So it's exciting times for Bullhorn customers. Matt, what does it mean for Kona Search customers?
Much of the same, right? I mean, now Kona Search has got, the power of the whole Bullhorn ecosystem behind it, which is also exciting, and all of the things that, it's all very symbiotic, right? In reality, because we've got this huge sea of data. We've got something like 25 billion staffing specific data points that sit in our across our collective database. It's an enormous data set. It's very specific to staffing, and it's sort of our job to make it actionable, to figure out how you can actually do stuff with all of that data. And so the reason it's symbiotic is, text kernel was able to provide Bullhorn with, also an excellent Salesforce search interface, but also really fantastic matching models, best in class. Kona can give us the Salesforce stuff, and what we can provide to both text kernel and Kona is all of this data. And so you get this really cool sort of symbiotic effect where everybody moves forward and everybody gets something that they didn't have before. And I think that that's what the Kona customers will see, and also just the depth of the organization to continue to innovate, as we sort of rationalize how do we put all the pieces together, because that's the goal. The goal is for us to take the best of all of these things and, build a really unified, excellent, best-in-class search, for everybody, regardless of whether they're a Bullhorn customer, a text kernel customer, or a Kona customer. They're all now Bullhorn customers, and they all get to benefit from the collective tech and the collective data.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think really what it comes down to is that we were going for another financing round because we needed to accelerate and hire. Really, we what I would say is we overachieved. So now we can get our technology, our darling little product, and we can get that out in front of everybody in the world faster than we could ever possibly do ourselves. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well put. So what I love about this conversation is I know there's a lot of AI here, but we haven't really drilled in on the AI question, which is great because I can't have a conversation without AI almost being the first thing mentioned. So, but I think it's important to talk about the role that AI is playing in staffing and recruiting, and how this all relates to Bullhorn's long-term AI strategy and what role AI plays here. So I said a lot there. Matt, if you want to address those issues, that'd be great.
I agree. We sort of touched it on the edges as it relates to matching models and sort of our overall vision. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a moment in time where not just staffing and recruiting, but every sort of industry is thinking about how they can use AI to be more productive and to fundamentally deliver a better experience to their end client. And so our customers are trying to figure that same thing out. And like I was saying at the beginning, our vision is that we have to take a look at everything that exists today and say, okay, if you were, trying to, build it AI first, what would you do? You have to reimagine the entire process. And so you end up, I think, with, a lot of sort of agentic AI. You've got agents that are performing functions, and they complement the recruiter really well, because when you look at what these functions are, I say this all the time, let's keep picking on search. Right. The recruiter their value isn't defined by who can write the best Boolean search or who can click through the UI in the most effective way. Like, that's something that you can automate and you can use AI for. Right. The recruiter is really there to build relationships and connect on a human level and help people figure out how to get them from where they are today to where they want to be in the future. And so that's what the recruiter should be doing. They shouldn't really be spending time clicking a bunch of buttons to go figure out who the best candidate is. And that's really where AI, comes into play. And you can have sourcing agents and searching agents that are using all of this tech to go search across Salesforce or search across Bullhorn, automatically match based on all of this different criteria. Now you have, the logical criteria, plus you have the ability to, to Andrew's point, to do all the parsing of these resumes and sort of semantically figure out who is who, and you can just automate a lot more of that. And you can have an agent that, you wake up in the morning and it says, hey, I found the top 10 people for this job. I used automation to reach out to them. AI built a really personalized campaign and messaging. We even used an AI screening agent to qualify some of these folks. And now here's your curated list of people that you should go do your actual job, which is to go convince them to take the job and to work with them and make sure that they're getting what they need out of their career. And so that's a very different concept than what a lot of, folks are doing today, which is conducting screenings over the phone and writing Boolean searches and all those things, which are, I would argue are not the optimal way for a recruiter to be spending their time. And so, and so the reason that we've been as active as we have in the search and match acquisitions is because AI is only as good as your data, and it's only as good as your searching and your ability to go find the right people. Because otherwise, how do you kick off all of those other automated flows? You've got to have the best search, you got to have the best match, and you have to have the largest sea of data. That's why it's so important for us and for our customers.
Yeah, I see a lot of. Good. Go ahead, please go.
Search is. We don't see search as an end game for a customer. I mean, you're absolutely right, Matt. Sitting around writing Boolean searches, there are only 3 people in the world who ever care about doing that. Enterprise search people, recruiters up to a point, and librarians. Oddly enough, librarians love doing Boolean searches. But the reality is that search is really a platform that enables, or a technology as part of a platform that enables what you really want to do. And that's pretty much what Matt said. What's interesting about AI is if you've been in the enterprise search space for a long time, Gen AI is not a revelation. It's been around for a while. And AI by itself is a catch-all phrase that actually means a lot of things. It's really, well, what is it really? Well, it's machine learning. It's entity extraction in a natural language fuzzy type of way. There's many different places where AI is used. And of course, there's also the generative part of it. We were always in a decision on our side to not touch the generative side. That's the sort of thing that, as a companion, I guess the phrase that everybody's using now is co-pilot. But, as your co-pilot to tell you what to do next and never start with a blank piece of paper, that's great, right? That's not us. What we were about was how can we actually use it in a way that's thoughtful? So vector queries, LLMs, and transformers. I mean, those are the 3 pieces of the new Gen AI, the transformer being the latest piece, which is really just a new way to use neural nets. That's really what it is. So that's what made it all popular. And the fact that LLMs actually got large enough in data to make sense statistically. So what is it that we can see? Well, one of the things that we started using AI for was not to train through machine learning, not to train our data. The only reason we did that is because there's been several times, or in a few podcasts that I've been on and several times online, we've talked about it. And we find from our customers is that they want to proceed thoughtfully in a sense that they want to make sure that the data doesn't train towards profiling. Now, you can have long technical conversations about whether that's true or not and what it really means. But in the end, perception is 9/10 of reality, right? So, you don't want to go there, and you at least want to find ways to say that we're not profiling. That's on the training side of it. But it doesn't mean that you're not using the AI technologies for other things. And our focus was always, well, let's say I have a bag of resumes and other documents regarding candidates, and I have a bag of job descriptions. Match them up. Well, how do you do that? Well, what are the skills, job titles, histories, all sorts of other things in there, interview results using sentiment analysis. All of this stuff was collectively in the search industry for a very long time around entity extraction and, assessment of positive or negative responses. All of this, the categorization, all of this stuff was in the industry for a long time. Gen AI just made it a lot easier to do. In fact, that was one of the embarrassing things when we released our parsers, that we actually didn't spend a whole lot of time building it. It's an MVP release that doesn't have nearly the sophistication of the parsers that Bullhorn and TextKernel have provided. But it was something that we had to check off on the industry. But the reality is that LLMs have created an opportunity to really advance technologies in a quick, cost-effective way. The predecessors to that, building your own neural nets, was an absolute nightmare. So, yeah, I mean, I think Gen AI has been transformative, mostly because it's so powerful at a small cost. But how we use it in this industry is really where the differentiation comes in, and I think that's what Bullhorn knows. They know the industry and they have the data. RAG, we all call it RAG these days, right? Does anybody actually know what RAG stands for and what it means? That's the real frontier. And RAG needs two things. It needs the private data, and it needs the customization. The private data, who has most of it? Bullhorn.
Yep. That's really interesting. So I think the biggest thing that generative AI and the onslaught the last couple of years has done is really open the mind of your customers. To both of your points, AI has been in the market a super long time in this space, but we almost didn't talk about it with customers because it was like the black box that was really hard to understand. We talked about the output from AI, but now, when it comes to leveraging AI, generative or otherwise, there's a real initiative to understand how we're leveraging it to be more efficient, more productive, drive in the staffing world, drive more sales, or do better with the data that we have, right? So I see a lot of products on an ongoing basis that are very gimmicky, right? And they don't really address the foundation of what you really need to then build out, your overall strategy here. And that's what I love about these moves that Bullhorn has made. And I would say it really goes all the way back to like the Job Science acquisition. Matt, was that what took you to Salesforce, or was that one of the early moves, right? And
one of the three,
yeah. And that's like building that foundation of, when you talk about all of that data and really the industry, existing on the Bullhorn platform or the Salesforce platform. That's an incredible advantage point and foundation to build these capabilities out. I could ask you a million more questions, but I know we're sort of at time, and I want to respect your time. Where should folks go to learn more about Bullhorn and about Kona Search?
Yes, my answer is usually they know who to talk to at Bullhorn because we're probably knocking on their door. So just have a chat with those folks, and all of our account managers are all very well versed in what's going on now. I love the opportunity to talk about it here too, to just give people some context into it, because you can go to our website, or you can listen to somebody sort of talk about what the strategy is. But hopefully us building on it a little bit more today is helpful to give some context.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I want to thank you both for your time and all of your insights today. I think this was a great conversation, and I think the industry will be better off for it. Thank you both.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. It's nice meeting you, George, and good seeing you again, Matt.
You too.
Before you go, one last thing is that both of us actually are into flying. We're both into music. And I thought, what are the odds of that actually happening? So one of these days, Matt and I are going to have a long conversation at a bar or someplace,
Yeah.
But it was a great meetup, great match.
I've never been to Hawaii either, so maybe we'll just have to meet up there.
That's
four rare similarities.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. Thanks everybody for watching or listening, and until next time.